you seen any new movies lately?
New movies. No. I mean, I guess I rewatched Anora, but that was about it.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
I saw Companion last night. I saw it before, but I
Long-time companion?
Long-time companion. I saw Companion last night, 2025, with I took my girlfriend to see it. I'd seen it before, but I wanted to. I have a really bad habit of watching like low-quality telesyncs or cams, like just on illegal sites, just because movies come out here. Like a lot of the times they come out like way later, and I hear everyone talking about them, and I'm just like, I gotta fucking know what everyone's talking about. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, I usually will go and see the movie afterwards when it comes out. If it comes out, sometimes they don't come out. And I did that with Anora. And then, but then here's the other thing is that, like the Marvel movies, like the big stupid, like the new Captain America movie is out now. A week earlier than it comes out in America.
Okay, you guys are so lucky.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't understand why that is, because it's like, you know, I imagine that releasing things at staggered schedules has a lot to do. I mean, what else could factor into that other than piracy, than like managing piracy, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't really understand.
Who'd want to pirate that movie?
Well, like everybody, come on. Like that's kind of like that's the movie that everybody wants to fucking see, like all the fucking mouth breathers out there, you know?
Give me a break.
Nobody gives a shit about Anora. Very few people are like you, Johnny. You're one of them. You're one in a million.
I'm one of a million.
You're one of a million. Companion. You liked Megan, right? That fucking little android movie, little girl android.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I think if you liked, well, here's the thing though, is that like you don't like movies that have like, you know, that try to sneak in kind of
social messages.
Yeah, social messages, and this one definitely I think tries to do that.
Well, this is the same. This is like the Barbarian guy, right?
No, it's just by the same. Oh. It's by Boulder Light. By you met Tracy before. We had that meeting with Tracy and
Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, Tracy Morgan, the Dominican. Is he Dominican or is he just like a straight up black guy?
Tracy Morgan.
Tracy Morgan is a black guy, but he played Dominican Lou on Saturday Night Live at one point. So that's why
I don't know, but I think he's from Brooklyn.
Yeah, he's just like a American black man. But anyways, it's not Tracy Morgan, Tracy Rosenblum. Remember we had a meeting with her and that young CEO guy who was like moving around in his chair a lot.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, that's her movie, Boulder Light.
That's her movie?
Well, okay. Yeah, she's like I think probably producer or at least associate producer.
All right. Well, and you loved it? Are you saying you loved it just because it's show business talk, or you really liked it? It's
just show business talk.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I have a good detector for when you're giving me the show business side.
Yeah. I mean, let me tell you for real. It's not bad. Like there are annoying things about it, but like it's definitely it's just one of those films that you watch and you're kind of like, okay, this is a pretty little neat and tidy little film. You know, it's right. Not really. It's not something that I'm going to be thinking about too much when I step out of the theater. But like,
is it cute?
There are definitely cute moments. I'll tell you this: that if you have like a good casting a film like that can be tough because it's so important that you know the audience kind of fall in love a little bit with like the lead. Like this works with Anora really well.
Right.
What was that other one? Remember that one called The Sweet East with Simon Rex and that.
I still haven't seen that.
Oh really? We should talk about that one. That's an interesting movie, I think.
Yeah, but, it's on my list.
But both very like sort of captivating, sort of young, pretty leads. This one stars a girl named Sophie Thatcher, that I think is a pretty good actor, and also
Actress.
actress, and also a pretty good, a pretty charismatic kind of presence. My girlfriend says she couldn't really pay attention because she kept getting distracted by her weird mouth. But that sounds like a catty. That sounds like a catty girl thing to say.
Jealous.
Yeah, she's jealous of her because she's the star, and not her. But I don't know. There's some good stuff, and there's some clever things like where you're kind of like ha ha, like kind of little clever moments. Anyways, is this a recommend? I don't know. It's kind of like, if it's on, check it out. But it's definitely not something to rush out of your house to go see.
Put that on the poster.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I'll tell you this though. I went in thinking I was going to hate it, but it won me over. So that's definitely something.
That's a good sign.
What are we talking about today? Today we're talking about Joe D'Amato movies, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And the ones that we're going to be talking about are Anthropophagus, BUIO Omega, or Beyond the Darkness, and also Absurd. There's another
I had
title.
to rewatch Anthropophagus last night, so
It's why are you calling it all weird like that? Anthropophagus.
What isn't that the title? Anthropophagus?
No, it's Anthropophagus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, maybe that's the Taiwanese pronunciation.
No, that's
that's the Canadian pronunciation.
Would you pronounce a hippopotamus a hippopotamus or whatever ridiculous intonations you were using before?
Yeah, sure.
No, you wouldn't.
Rhinoceros.
Don't be obdurate, Mr. Ryan.
Anyway, I rewatched Anthropophagus last night just to kind of refresh myself, and so I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I watched Anthropophagus also. I also rewatched actually all of them in a row yesterday with a lovely apple pie.
And I don't know if did I send you that? I sent you that little Wikipedia quote from Joe D'Amato where he was like, which I really liked, which was like, look, I can't do Hitchcock. I can't do this kind of all that sort of cool stuff that Hitchcock does. But I can make a movie really disgusting. So that's what I'm going to do. So that's his. That's what he's good at. That's what he sets out to do, and that's what he does.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, it rings a bell. I don't know that I recall.
It's on the Wikipedia for BUIO Omega.
Okay, I mean, of all those films, BUIO Omega is actually probably the most rich in terms of plot and
I agree,
and sort of it's the most dense, I guess you could say, in terms of just what's going on in terms
and
of
the most there's an originality to it that the other two movies don't have.
Yeah. That one is actually it makes sense actually that we start with BUIO Omega because it is actually on the list. It's if we go in a chronological order, it's actually the first one.
Okay, I mean time wise.
Say what?
Time wise, it's his first. It's time wise. It's earlier.
Yeah, that's
the other two.
That's what fucking chronological means. God damn.
I didn't know if you meant chronological as in the Rotten Tomatoes rating.
What? Yeah, chrono is Latin for Rotten Tomatoes. Let me just. This is so funny. If you go to the Joe D'Amato Wikipedia, there's a whole subheading for personality. Okay. According to actresses who worked with him, D'Amato was sociable, humorous, with a sense of irony, amiable, and supportive. To some, he appeared like a father. Both Laura Gemser, with whom he worked together for a long time, and Monica Zanchi pointed out his adventurous and playful approach to filmmaking.
Nice.
I'm here just to look at the chronology of the films, and BUIO Omega is 79, Anthropophagus is 80, and then Absurd is 81. So it's 3 in a row.
Okay.
But every year he's got like like 79, he's got 2 movies. 1980, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 movies.
I remember watching. I've seen Porno Holocaust and Erotic Nights of the Living Dead. I feel like both of those were a little bit of a disappointment. I don't remember anything about them other than the feeling of slight disappointment.
Get this, in 1981, he did 14 films.
All in that one year?
Well, I mean, that's when they were all released. He may have done them prior or whatever, but
because I think I think I may have read on the BUIO Omega Wikipedia that movie was actually filmed a few years before it was released.
That makes
so
sense.
It might not actually be. Yeah, I mean, it's released on that date, but yeah, it might not be chronologically like right before those other two.
I should also mention too that a lot of I'm looking at some of these titles, and like Boca Golosa and El Hereditaire Super Porno, and it leads me to believe that these are a lot of
that sounds like Porno Holocaust, right?
No, Porno Holocaust is listed as Porno Holocaust, and it was done in was it 80 or 81?
Because I think he was a porno director too.
No, he was. He absolutely was. Yeah, Porno Holocaust was done the same year as Anthropophagus, so the year prior. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make, Orgasmo Nero, like he'll do like a couple like real scripted movies, and then he'll do like a lot of pornos. So like to call him this sort of this amazingly prolific director is a little bit of a misnomer, because he's mostly just doing porns, and I think that probably takes like a week to put out. Anyways, so yeah, tell me about BUIO Omega. Like, what is it about?
Me? You want me to talk about it?
Like, I love BUIO Omega. I think it's awesome, and definitely the richest. But like, I don't know. There's something about just the tone and something about the George Eastman character, like the titular Anthropophagus, that I really admire.
He's definitely the glue that holds Anthropophagus together. Like, he definitely, like, when he's on screen, you see him, he's totally captivating. Like, there's a scene where he's coming down, like, he's coming towards the camera through, like, he's walking through the darkness. You can't really see his face, but you just see his breath coming out of his head as he's like lumbering closer and closer. It's such a great image. And yeah, the sort of violent, there's really great, like very violent moments in the film.
Those things are great, but there's even more that I like about it, and I'll get to it when we actually delve deep into the Anthropophagus, the meat of the Anthropophagus. But let's talk about BUIO Omega.
BUIO Omega is the story's a lot more complex. It's about this rich kid whose girlfriend dies under somewhat suspicious circumstances, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but like it sort of quasi supernatural circumstances. Actually.
Yes. So like there's some, she dies in some kind of weird way, and he's so grief stricken. He steals her body from the graveyard. And I guess he's a sort of an expert taxidermist, and he basically makes a taxidermy out of his dead girlfriend. And in the meantime, he's still he's still kind of horny, and he's still kind of like looking for love, and he'll bring women back, or sometimes he'll even like he'll just bump into women and bring them back to his place. And
I think we need to really take a moment to like establish the wet nurse, aka housekeeper, Iris.
Okay, I was going to get to that, but yeah. So he's got this sort of very overbearing nanny / maid who still lives in the mansion with him, who sort of takes care of him to an extreme degree, including breastfeeding him.
Yeah.
Letting him suckle her tits. She's clearly infatuated and in love with this guy, and she's actually also the reason why the girlfriend dies, because she was engaged in some sort of voodoo ritual that kills the girlfriend. She definitely has a miss. Do you know that movie, the Hitchcock movie Rebecca?
No, I've never seen that.
It's pretty good. And it has this, it has a sort of maid in it that is clearly this BUIO Omega maid was sort of modeled on, which is just like a very severe looking woman who looks very scary and serious, and
Jennifer Lopez and Made in Manhattan.
And she clearly is, and when Laurence Olivier brings his new wife back to the mansion to live with him, this maid clearly does not like this new woman, and probably has some jealousy, because she's sort of taking her spot as in her relationship with Laurence Olivier. So yeah, there's this kind of like overbearing maid, Miss Danvers type. But yeah, she lets him suck her tits. She's clearly in love with him, and she also whenever he kills a woman, she helps him hide the body and clean it up.
Right, but the tit sucking scene, the breastfeeding scene, it's put in at the film at just the right time to kind of let you know that there's something really fucked up going on, and like
right,
and it lets you, it kind of answers in a vague but satisfying way, like, why this kid is like this, and why he's just all fucked up, and why his sort of sexual impulse is like tied together with homicide and also this bizarre sort of taxidermy kind of mutilation hobby that he has. So it's smart to do that, because it's like, again, one thing that me and you often come back to is how sexual perversion, especially sort of like sustained sort of like childhood kind of perversion, kind of as posited as like an explanation to why like a serial killer is the way he is always like pretty satisfying, if not interesting. So it's like
it's definitely, I think it feels more grounded. Like when you just have a serial killer like in Long Legs, it was just like you don't really know what the fuck is going on, other than he's weird looking and he's got some kind of a plan, but it's not really based on anything that makes sense.
Well, it's like it's super. Like, I mean, this is a good point to bring up, is that there are supernatural elements that are going on in BUIO Omega. One of which is the voodoo thing. The other of which is like sort of happens a little later, which we'll get into. It has to do with sort of voices from beyond the dead or whatever. Mm-hmm. But in Long Legs, it's like, oh, he's I guess he's a minion of Satan, and it's like, okay, and that's kind of the explanation as to why he's a killer, is just because, oh, he's evil, he's a minion of Satan.
But yeah, even a minion of Satan has to have a purpose. Like there has to be like, oh, we have to we have to impregnate this girl so she gives birth to the Antichrist or like something, or we're going to sacrifice her body. You know, these kids are sacrifices to Satan. So I don't know, that it's never made clear. And then also the other serial killer film we watched, Limbo.
Yeah.
Yeah. His motivation always also felt slightly unclear and confusing. Here,
He's Japanese, man. He's Japanese.
yeah, that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Here, you don't hear everything. Everything is there. Like you see, you know, from the jump that this guy is fucked up, and you could see it from, you know, the fact that this, you know, his parents are dead. This creepy maid nanny is in his life, and he seems to have also strange sexual proclivities. And yeah, murder is something that it's weird. Like he doesn't go out hunting for women like a serial killer. It just kind of almost happens.
Yep. It's
just
true.
by you know, things kind of getting out of control. Like the whole sequence where he's running and there's a female jogger on the jogging trail and she sprains her ankle, and so he's very handsome, so he's very unassuming, and the girls always like do whatever he says because he's very good looking, and he brings her back to his mansion and to sort of help her, you know, wrap her ankle up, and so he does that, and she's clearly interested in him, and then they start like making out. But while they're making out, he kind of wants to look at his dead girlfriend's corpse at the same time.
Yeah.
and so when the new girl notices that there's a corpse in the bed next to them, she flips out, and then he can't, like, there's no other choice he has at that point. Then he's got to kill her.
And he kills her by ripping her throat out with his teeth and eating it. There's a good sort of moment. There's a good moment where the camera, you know, it frames him, and then it's just a shot of him chewing and swallowing the piece of meat that he tore out of her throat, which I appreciated.
That's like a Joe D'Amato, like he loves. That happens in Anthropophagus too. Like he loves that move.
Yeah,
the throat biting.
I think that we can both relate to this guy, you know, because we're both like, you know, handsome, high value males, and women just, you know, fall at our feet all the time. You know, like we're just walking around, you just all of a sudden just happen upon some woman, and you know, honestly speaking, if I wanted to murder any of them, I could probably get away with it.
Sure.
Yeah. But anyways, regarding the movie, you jumped. Did you? Okay, so I guess did the. No, okay, so you're jumping ahead because the jogger happens.
Yeah, I jumped far ahead because we didn't talk about the fat girl that he picks up.
The hippie, yeah.
That's another one. Like he doesn't really, because he just robbed the grave. He just threw his dead girlfriend in the back of his weird truck, and he's on his way back to his home, and the cops. I guess he has a flat tire. He's got to fix it. And the cops stop and ask him if he needs help, and he's like, no. And there's all this sort of tension as far as like, are they going to catch him with his body in his trunk? And then once he fixes the tire and gets back into his truck, he sees that the fat hippie that was hitchhiking down the road that he ignored caught up to him and just jumped into the truck without any consent.
Yeah.
So now he's stuck with this fat hippie in his truck. And he's just like, okay, now what am I going to do? So he just brings her back to his home, and I guess somewhere along the way home she falls asleep because she's a fat drug addict.
She goes into diabetic shock. No, she smokes weed and she gets all fucked up, and then she just passes out. Yeah.
So now he's got this fat hippie in the trunk. I mean, in his truck, and he just parks it in his garage, and then just like 10 feet away, he starts while she's sleeping. He just does his taxidermy on his dead fiance.
Yeah, that he just robbed from the grave. Well, another thing too that's kind of there's a lot of just good little attention to detail in this film. I appreciate it. First one is that our main guy, what's his name, by the way? Like Francesco, is it? Or Francisco?
I don't remember.
No, whatever. That our main guy, he manages to inject her with like some sort of preservative or like embalming fluid, so that like later on he knows that she'll still be like in good shape when he goes to like dig her up. So that's like a nice little detail. Another nice.
Oh,
detail.
but like I just remembered too, because like as he sneaks into the funeral home to do that, like I guess the funeral director,
the mortician guy,
kind of like has his eye on him, and he knows he's up to something,
right?
And so he basically becomes sort of there's lots of little Hitchcockian things going on here. One was that Mrs. Danvers thing, but also like the taxidermy has like, psycho vibes. And then this mortician guy has that kind of Arbogast, that detective that like goes to Norman Bates' house to go sort of like check it out.
Right.
When he suspects like there's something going on here.
The guy who dies on the stairs, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's that, the fucking the injection of the preservative or embalming fluid, and also just like setting up. I don't know. I appreciated just setting up the hitchhiker, like having him pass her on the road, and then sort of her showing up later, like having that kind of you could either. Well, I guess you could just have her kind of sneak in the car, kind of like what happens in Touch of Death, when like just there's a homeless guy that just shows up in Brett Halsey's car. Like it's just kind of like, oh, I'm a homeless guy, all it took was just like just to set that up a little earlier, like have like, hey man, you got to smoke, and him just be like, fuck off, and then being like, oh shit, it's that guy again, like that. It just makes it a little more like considered. So then Iris the nanny. I'm looking up the thing just because I want to know his name. It's Francesco. Yeah. So Francesco and Iris together dismember the body and dissolve it in acid in the bathtub.
The fat girl.
The fat hippie. Yeah.
And because we also have to say that like the Francesco, he does the whole taxidermy with his dead fiance. He makes her all up, puts her in a nice dress, and puts her in his bed. And the maid she doesn't like this. Like, she wants him to get rid of it. Throughout the whole movie, she's just like, this is causing way too much trouble, especially after the incident with the runner. She's just like, you just got to get rid of it. And he is just like, there's no way I am getting rid of this woman. She's the love of my life. You can forget about it.
I wanted to, like, we're kind of, we're not getting into kind of like the strength of the movie, which is all these sort of set pieces. Like, we didn't even mention like the pulling out of the fingernails that Francesco does to the hippie. Excuse me.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, like that's kind of why you're watching the movie. Like, also like the way, so like, and there's this is another sort of like common theme is in Joe D'Amato films. Well, in these three Joe D'Amato films, maybe not so much Anthropophagus, but like the BUIO Omega and Absurd, there's just like this persistent score, like a persistent theme song that happens throughout the whole thing. And
I was actually noticing, because it's been a week or two since I watched Absurd and BUIO Omega, but having watched Anthropophagus last night, I definitely noticed the music was like, oh, this music's actually kind of like, it's very effective.
Yeah.
It's always there, which, in some movies that can be annoying. but it's like this weird kind of hypnotic, like organ.
Yeah,
and
it's very deep a lot of the time, like rumbling and deep.
And then sometimes it sounds like there's like backwards, like choir or something, like some kind of choir being played backwards or something. Like and then like some weird, like eerie synth. It's very good.
It's quick, it's like a quick kind of noise. I mean, I know a little bit about synths. Like it's kind of like a noise pattern where it's just going like kind of like that, and that's kind of like what they do for some of the. All of it is great. I think that out of the three, it has like kind of the most effective score that works best with the movie, whereas the other two kind of have like songs, like just songs that will play.
But actually, I liked
throughout the whole movie.
I liked the score for BUIO OMEGA as well. And I know you mentioned like a lot of Italian films have scores that don't necessarily fit what's going on, but I feel like sometimes that can work. Like
sometimes
Cannibal Holocaust, I feel like is a very good example. Like that music is like one of the most beautiful pieces of music I feel like I've ever heard in my life. And it's for like this movie called Cannibal Holocaust. But for whatever reason, like it's just that like the juxtaposition of those two things that shouldn't go together. Like I can't imagine a different score for that.
Yeah, no, I mean that works with Cannibal Holocaust. I just don't know how well it works for me. It's not so much about what the song is. It's just that it's the same song the whole time. It's always the same dun 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 dun. The whole fucking movie. It's just that the whole time, and it's like
I liked it here. I thought it. I enjoyed the score. I think is it Goblin?
It's Goblin. It's Goblin.
Yeah.
I was saying to you, but you know what it was? I was looking at like because I actually do like that song on its own. Like I think it's a cool piece of music, but like just it's not so much that it doesn't fit. I don't think it necessarily fits with like the whole movie, but it's mostly just because it's the one song that they got and they just play it every single time. Right. And but it is a cool piece of music. But I was listening to it just by itself on YouTube, and there's a lot of people saying like, it sounds like Alan Parsons Project, and I was like, oh yeah, it does. But I go and I listen to Alan Parsons Project, and I'm like, oh no, it doesn't at all. And what I think it actually.
That's because when you said it to me, I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I was saying that because I agreed that it sounded like something, but what I actually think it sounds like is Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Oh, see, those guys are good.
Yeah, but it doesn't. That's not beside the point. Is what I'm trying to say is just that like it's funny because like everybody who is just saying like, oh, this sounds like Alan Parsons Project, and everyone's just kind of like, yeah, and saying yes, but then it's like, when you said to me, it's like, no, it doesn't, and I was like, so then I go and I look it up, and I'm like, oh yeah, it doesn't. Everyone's just kind of, it's like a Mandela effect or something,
Mandingo effect.
It's like a Mandingo effect.
It's like a pyramid scheme.
It's like a pyramid scheme with fucking Mandingo at the top. Yeah, like it. All this to say, it's not your Suspiria side of Goblin, It's more. It's got kind of like a, I don't know, like a weird sort of futuristic kind of flavor to the soundtrack, which it doesn't make sense, but you just learn to accept it. Kind of like how when you think about like the theme song for The Simpsons, like it actually kind of doesn't make sense. Like but it's just been around for so long that it just grows into The Simpsons and it becomes indivisible. But like that the theme that Danny Elfman did for The Simpsons is like, it's maybe too like Looney Tunesy or something. But whatever.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's pretty terrible.
Yeah. And in any case, what else are we talking about here? So we got the fingernails, we got the dismembering, we have that
the acid bath is really disgusting. But actually, probably the most disgusting moment in the entire film is when they're eating the stew.
Oh, the tripe in it?
So when the maid is just like eating the stew and just smearing it all over her lips and letting just like it drip down her chin, it's vile.
Yeah, and then Francesco barfs.
But it's just funny how like D'Amato just kind of like is looking for any moment to be as disgusting as he can.
I like the, just to back up a bit, when they're dismembering the hippie, and they have that shot, that low angle shot that's just like her vagina, like just right front and center of the
right.
And they do that so that they can kind of hide the fake head. They must have her head tilted, and they put a fake head.
Oh right, they're sawing the head off.
Right, and then
the maid is.
Yeah, and then she goes and uses like a big square knife to chop off her arms. It's good stuff. I like how they make they make sort of like this team of I like serial killer teams. Yeah, like in Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Yeah, it's cool.
What's another serial killer team? Maniac Cop 2?
Little Texas Chainsaw is a good serial killer team.
That's true. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool when they can kind of bond over something. I've been thinking a lot, just sort of racking my brain with Crossed. I've finished the storyboards and everything. So, and I've just been thinking about like all these gags that have to be done. And what I'm looking to the most now is like old school camera tricks, like super old school, like somebody is holding a knife and then like, they pretend to throw the knife, the camera whips, and then the other person's on the other side with a knife already in their head, like right. That. Like just thinking of stuff like that.
Well, I love that. My favorite camera trick is that one is it Beyond the Door? Like the Mario Bava movie where the kid's running down the hall and the camera kind of stays put as the kid's running down the hall, and he gets to a point where he goes he's underneath the camera so you don't see him, and then when he pops up he's like a full-grown man. Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah. Fuck, I was trying to think what that's from. It's from Beyond the Door.
I think it's from the first Beyond the Door movie with Dario Argento's wife.
Nicolata or whatever, some shit.
Yeah. Nicorette.
Oh, god damn. I need to take a drink here. Hold on. All right, so it turns out that the dead fiance has a twin sister.
That I feel like is the maybe the only thing in the movie that kind of they just kind of like whatever. Like the fact that she shows up and she's kind of like, oh, I'm about to leave town. I just want to see Francisco before I leave. And he kind of like looks at her as if like, oh my God, you look exactly like my, like it's almost like they never, like it's weird because it's almost like he's never seen her before. He didn't know anything about her. And now she's here and he's like completely
surprised.
Like he's surprised and like, oh my God, this is his dream has come true. Like it looks like his dead girlfriend has just come back to life.
It's so funny how like, being an identical twin, just how completely objectified like you can become, like if something like this happens, like this fucking guy is just like, oh, cool, there's another one, like right. it's just like
a clone.
Yeah, there's a replacement, and it's like, well, no, I'm a completely my own person who's like,
right.
has my own personality and everything. But like, no, what the hell are you talking about? You're just another one of the girl that I used to fuck. And in fact, I feel like justified in just kind of tearing your clothes off and fucking you because like, because I already married you once, or I already engaged you once, or whatever,
But also, like, what's weird is that like she seems to know him, but he doesn't know her because she's like, "Oh, I'm here to see Francisco. I wanted to see him before I left town."
This is almost as bad as This is almost as bad as in Darker Than Amber when they use that oh, there's a girl who looks exactly like you, as a as a plot device.
But at least like here, it kind of like there's a point to it. Like
Right.
in Darker Than Amber, it's sort of like there didn't really seem to be too much of a point other than that last moment when she's just kind of like,
Hey, it's me.
hey, and then like it stuns the bad guy for a second.
Right. And then he gets hit in the balls with like a 4x4.
And his wig falls off.
Yeah. All right, so let's try to get through this. Like, so naturally, Francesco kills. Oh, doesn't kill. Has like.
But we should also say that before, I think, like, isn't it like right before the twin shows up, he has to make some sort of deal because the cops are kind of start snooping around because they know like the jogger's dead. And so he has to make some sort of deal with the maid. Like he promises that he's going to marry the maid.
Right, and she invites over like her whole family and everything, and there's this big like dinner.
Oh, that's a great moment.
Yeah,
like he's so disgusted because their family is like a bunch of mutants.
Yeah, yeah,
and yeah, like they're planning this wedding, and he's supposed to like she cons him into marrying him. Does she blackmail him or something? Like, I can't really remember now. Like there's some way that she kind of cons him into marrying her.
I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like, it's I don't remember exactly. Like, but it's probably not that difficult. It's just like
yeah. So anyway,
they murdered people together. She could
yes.
very easily fucking.
I think she kind of blackmails him or something, and she's in love with him. She's doing all this stuff with him because she loves him so much, and now she's finally like, okay, I'll keep quiet. If you marry me, he agrees, but then like as soon as he sees her family, he freaks out.
Yeah, and humiliates Iris the maid. He goes to a disco, and that's when he runs into the twin.
No, he doesn't meet the twin yet because he goes to the disco and he picks up some new blonde lady, and brings her home, and he's gonna fuck her. But then, like right as she's like getting undressed or she's taking a shower, and then the twin shows up, and then he's like, you got to get to the girl he brought home. He's like, you got to get the fuck out of here. And she's like, what? I just got here.
Right. Yeah, my bad. Okay, so now his attention's focused on the twin, and then they get into like a tussle, and then I don't know what happens. I'm getting hazy at this point. I know how it ends. I mean, the ending is sort of like a gotcha kind of an ending, but so what? Like, how does he's going to end up like? Why don't you go ahead and take the lead on this one? Because honestly, like my memory of like how this movie ends is pretty hazy. I know that the guy dies slowly somehow. Like he's wounded and he just dies slowly, and then there's also what does the fucking maid die as well? I forget.
Does he get his eyes gouged out or something?
I don't know. I know that like he replaces the fucking like the original fiancée with he replaces her eyes with glass eyes. So there is like eye stuff that happens, but I don't know. Are you confusing that with it? Honestly, like at this point in the movie, it's just kind of like.
I feel like all these movies are like all just blurring together. I have a memory of somebody having an eyeball in their hand. Is that this movie?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Or is that Delirium?
It might actually be Anthropophagus, the eyeball in the hand, like in the cave. Okay, listen. Let's blast through it. I guess we can say that BUIO Omega, it has a lot of great things going on in it. The ending gets a little. The ending obviously is not very memorable. The ultimate.
I
ending
do
is
remember
memorable.
like there's some kind of confusion with the twin, and then like when the cops come and the mortician comes and they take the body of the girl and
they think it's the fiance, and they try to return her to the grave.
Right, but then like at the last second, her twin like wakes up and starts screaming. It's like, don't bury me, I'm alive.
Don't bury me, I'm not dead. And then it's like, dun 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 dun. Yeah, okay, so whatever. I guess we both kind of didn't do our due diligence enough to like remember the ending of BUIO Omega, like how the maid, if she dies at all. I know that the guy dies, but I can't really remember exactly how it happens. But whatever. I still think it's absolutely worth watching. BUIO Omega for me is a 3 out of a possible 5.
I'm going to give it 3.5.
Okay, good for you.
Because I think I liked it even more this time I watched it.
Yeah, I mean it is good, and it's got a really nice sort of sick flavor to it. Like it's out of the 3 of them, it's the one that feels the most like wrong and upsetting. So yeah, like I don't know. There's just something about it. Some kind of lightning in a bottle. This was like out of the movies that we watched, this is the earliest one, and the other 2 kind of like are a little. I don't know. A little. They don't get under your skin quite as much as this one. That's the way I take it.
And what's the next one? Anthropophagus?
I'm going to talk about Anthropophagus next. I think maybe I personally don't have a whole lot to say about Absurd. Maybe we'll even just skip Absurd unless you insist on talking about it.
I mean, we can just sort of mention it, I suppose.
All right, well, then go ahead. Let's just do that now then.
Oh, Absurd?
Sure.
Well, yeah, Absurd is like a Halloween rip, right? Yeah. There's a couple of, well, first of all, George Eastman is just a very good, like, big, ugly killer.
I don't think he's all that ugly. I think he's kind of good looking.
I think he's got, but like when he's got the makeup on and stuff, like he's got these very deep set eyes and a very heavy brow. Like I feel like with just like very little makeup, he can be very menacing.
Okay.
And yeah, so he's fairly menacing here. And then there's like a Donald Pleasance character who's like chasing him from, he's like some kind of evil incarnate guy that's escaped from the mental institution. And
well, he's a mutant. He's like, it's almost a science fiction movie. He's like I compared it to The Incredible Melting Man. Like he's kind of just this escaped mutant that's on the loose, and it's like, there's scenes where it's like they're looking under like microscopes and they're just like, his cells are dividing in a way that I've never seen before. Like there's this scientific kind of scientist component to the fucking film that kind of brings it into this sci-fi sort of place. And ultimately what it amounts to is that George Eastman can't die. He regenerates. If he gets wounded, his wounds close up and he can't be killed. So like,
right.
That's his whole fucking thing. So he's just this violent, unstoppable.
So basically, it's just like a Michael Myers, but a little bit more, or a little bit less supernatural. Like it's a little bit more like scientific. Like he's somehow been made this way through some kind of science.
Yeah, it's what it's like. It's actually a lot like Rabid. Like the David Cronenberg Rabid.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember Rabid.
Well, I mean, it's about that woman who gets fucked up in the motorcycle accident, and they use some kind of experimental procedure on her, and then it makes her so that she has like a little poisonous spike in her armpit, and then so she's like a mutant, and she's just running amok around the countryside and kind of seducing men. So I guess it has sort of a slasher kind of pacing, but it's more about like her, because she's a woman. It's about her like kind of seducing men. But you can see where the comparison is. Like it's like a mutant run amok, rabid, incredible melting man, absurd,
Precious.
Precious. Are there any just a mutant? Are there any like memorable moments in Absurd? Well, there's the part where he drills that nurse with that drill in the side of her head. It's not that great. There's that part where he saws the guy's head in half that they make a big fucking deal out of, but it's not that great. It's kind of like a lame effect. This is the thing, is effects in this movie are not very well executed. But moreover, they're not very creative. That we've seen them kind of done better in other movies. So
yeah.
So, well, I mean, is there anything else? Any other memorable thing?
Yeah, the only thing that really jumps out at me is the very end where the girl saws off his head and comes out onto the porch holding up the guy's head.
Yeah,
that's about it.
It's like that. What's the name of that lady who got?
And she shows it to her like her little brother, and the little brother's like, "Yeah."
Oh, that's right. There's a little boy in this movie. That's kind of maybe one of the positives of the movie is that there's just like a little kid in this movie who's kind of making little quips and saying stuff, along the way. What's the name of that woman who like got in trouble for taking a picture of like holding up like a fake Donald Trump head?
Kathy Griffin.
Kathy Griffin. So they do the old Kathy Griffin on George Eastman at the end of this film.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So whatever. Absurd. I don't.
Yeah. Give it like 2.
I'll give it less. I give it 1.5. Just because it's like it's
definitely the weakest of the. But I feel like it might be more interesting than Porno Holocaust or Erotic Nights of the Living Dead.
Yeah, sure. It's whatever. I don't know. I just find it to be kind of disappointing, and if you want to watch George Eastman run amok, that brings us to our next film on the docket, which is Anthropophagus. That's how you pronounce it, Anthropophagus, and it's 1980
I disagree,
film.
But
well, it doesn't matter if you agree or if you don't agree.
That's what I like about this show is that, like, got 2 different opinions. One's right, one's wrong.
So Anthropophagus is a 1980 film directed by Joe D'Amato and starring George Eastman and also Tisa Farrow, as you can you remember her from Zombie. Mia Farrow's
That's right.
Mia Farrow's sister, I believe.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, who just decided to, I don't know, like just do fucking Italian movies a lot for whatever reason.
Did she do anything? Like, does she do anything in the United States? Like,
I mean, she must have. I definitely know that I've seen her in
like what?
I don't know. I'm going to take a look right now. So, Tisa, not T.S. Tisa Farrow. Tisa Farrow. She's dead. Oh shit, she died last year.
That's why I said rest in peace.
I thought you were talking about Mia Farrow.
No, she's still alive.
Is she?
Uh-huh.
Me. Let's see what she was in. Filmography. I don't. Oh, she was in Manhattan, but only as a bit party guest.
Nice.
Damn, these are all Italian films. Do you know a film called Search and Destroy from 1979?
I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah. It looks actually kind of fucking cool. Look at the cover of it.
Is it like a army Rambo thing?
It looks like some kind of fucking like urban combat kind of thing. Like Vietnam vets come back to do some shit in the big city. I don't know. From Zombie to like Zombie 2 to fucking 1980. I gotta cut out this part of the fucking show, man. This is some bad stuff here. All I'm trying to this is some very bad content. All I'm trying to say is that like she hasn't really done a whole lot of shit. She was in a few Italian movies at the end of her career, and that's actually what we remember her for. No one remembers her from her bit parts in Manhattan.
Yeah, I don't remember her in any American films.
Yeah, I wonder what her fucking deal was. Maybe she married some fucking Italian guy.
I'm sure she just had a lot of money for being
Mia Farrow's
Hollywood brat.
Yeah. So she just could do whatever she wanted. She went to fucking Italy and, all these Italians were like, "Oh, you can be in my movie. You show us your pussy." And she's like, "No.
You look like Mia Farrow."
Yeah. Because she never really got naked or anything. She never really exploited herself in that way.
That's fine.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think anybody's looking for that.
Well,
She's not... it's not the lady from Delirium.
Right. Whatever her name was. Let's talk about Anthropophagus. We have we open with a German couple who's going on vacation to, I guess, some sort of Greek island. They end up getting killed, and that's sort of letting us know that like there's something afoot going on here. The girl is killed by something, that is almost like a shark that like attacks her from underwater, and then later the boyfriend is hit in the head with a big knife. So it's kind of like, okay, so what's going on here? It's a shark and a fucking guy, a killer. Are they working together? Oh no, it's just some killer who can swim, I guess. Anyways, that brings us to like this group of people who are also going on sort of a little vacation. They run into Tisa Farrow. The Delirium woman is in this film, playing not a sexy character at all. She's playing like a pregnant woman. Remember?
Which Delirium woman?
The main one.
Really? That was her?
Yeah, dude.
Huh.
Yeah.
Recognize her.
Well, she's not sexy at all in this film.
Yeah, she's like a real dumpy looking pregnant lady.
Yeah, well they dress her like in a fucking button up to the neck, long sleeve dress, Like they don't, and she's not really showing off like her physique. And in fact, this movie was made before Delirium. So like, it's if she's in good fucking shape. It's not like her tits have gotten all saggy or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Although you know what is funny is we talked about this before about how kind of like for example Barbara Hershey in Last Summer versus Barbara Hershey in The Entity, how she's like way hotter in The Entity, and that's like many years afterward, a good handful of years afterwards.
Sure.
So there you go. Sometimes you gotta let a woman age like a fine cheese.
Well, I think Barbara Hershey's had a significant amount of medical assistance in that area.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. That's different from aging like a fine cheese.
I don't
Unless
think
you take the cheese to the doctor.
I don't think there's any difference at all. As we move forward, they get to some like town, and the town's deserted. So they go to like some house, and sure enough, we find out that there's a killer running around. How did that? I mean, fuck. This is also hazy for me too. The first death that I after the German couple, the first kind of like sign of death that happens is that head in the bucket. That's what I remember. That head that she finds in the bucket.
Yes. So we should mention that like once this group of people land on the island, the pregnant lady sprains her ankle like right as she's getting off the boat. And so everybody's just like, oh, just leave her on the boat and we'll go explore the island. So she stays on the boat with the captain of the boat. So I guess some Greek man. Mm-hmm. And she's sitting on the boat soaking her foot. And and then at some point she tells the captain to get her more water to soak her foot in. He is going to do that, but then something pulls him into the water. He kind of disappears, and then the pregnant lady is like, "Oh, where'd you go?" And there's kind of this dumb scene where she has to pull the water bucket back onto the boat, but at the same time not look at it. So she's she's like looking to the side as she's like pulling up the bucket and then putting it on the ship as she's still not looking at the bucket, and then putting her foot in the bucket and not looking at the bucket, and then she feels that there's a head in the bucket with her foot.
Yeah.
Which is pretty hot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. That it's a real feat of acting, you know? She has to
I was just like, oh man, I wish that was me in the bucket.
yeah. I wish that was my dick and balls in the bucket.
So then all of a sudden, like she gets, I guess at some point we don't see Anthropophagus show up, but he comes and he drags her off the boat.
And then he keeps her in that fucking cave?
Well, that's not revealed until later. So when the group comes back, or there's at some point they find out that the boat has kind of sailed off, and so the pregnant lady's husband's like freaking out, like, "Yo, my wife was on that boat," and everybody's trying to talk him down, like, "Oh, they're probably just moving the boat a little. They'll be back."
Yeah.
And he's still kind of freaking out. And then they're like, all right, and then they walk away, and then like you see off to the side that Anthropophagus is dragging the pregnant woman somewhere. We don't really see where. We don't even know if she's alive or not. That's a surprise that's to be revealed later. And then we're back following the group back at the Tisa Farrow says like, oh, let's go stay with my friends, because I guess she has friends on the island, and so they go stay at this Tisa Farrow's friend's house.
And it's this big kind of like mansion.
Is any of this coming back to you?
Yeah, I mean, like, I remember the part where, like, you know, it's like night and there's like thunder and lightning, and then there's somebody's like going into a room, and then there's a door closing, and then Anthropophagus is behind the door, and
that's like way later.
Yeah. And then
because now it's just like all this kind of like they're prowling around the city. They there's nobody there. There's some creepy girl wandering around who just like looks out of windows and looks creepy. They never really make contact with her, but I guess she's Anthropophagus' sister. And but yeah, they never are able to talk to her or catch up with her. She's just kind of like always on the move. And there's some kind of little romance triangle happening between like one of the guys. He kind of has he's kind of getting a little something for Tisa Farrow, but he has a relationship with one of the other women in the group who's getting a little catty. And she also has she's the official like tarot deck reader who discovers that they have no future when they're on the boat when she reads the tarot cards.
Oh, that's right. That's like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre device where you invoke some sort of supernatural thing to kind of add weight to everything or something, I guess. Okay, well, whatever. So yeah, let's get on to the fucking the good stuff here.
But there's a and this is why like I don't feel like this movie's as good as BUIO Omega, because there's a significant amount of time of just kind of like wandering around this beautiful old Greek city, not knowing what's going on, trying to figure out what's going on. Anthropophagus, I feel like he doesn't really reveal himself until much later.
Yeah. But let's get on to the good stuff. The fucking the part in the cave where like the husband goes to like find his wife. He's attacked by Anthropophagus, who stabs him, and then while still alive, the husband is forced to watch as Anthropophagus fucking puts his hand up the woman's vagina and pulls out the placental sac and takes a big bite out of it with the umbilical cord trailing behind. Unforgettable. It's one of those scenes that everybody fucking talks about. And
again, George Eastman, his look in this movie is it's a good look. He looks very scary. He looks homeless. He looks like a very scary homeless man.
Yeah,
with like a diseased face and like his hair he's losing his hair.
Yeah, close to that scene. Like what they do is they also give you a little kind of a background as to why he is the way he is, and it turns out that he was lost at sea with his wife and his young son, and his son dies, and he's like, "Come on, we got to eat his meat. We got to eat his meat to stay alive. He's already dead. If we don't eat his meat, then me and you are going to die too." And his wife is like, "No."
See, I actually thought like his son was on the verge of death, and he was like, "Look, he's going to die anyway. Let's just kill him and eat him."
Yeah.
I didn't think he was dead yet.
Right. Well,
so the mom was like protecting him, like, "No, don't." And then he just stabs her, and then he goes, "No." But then we're led to believe that he eats both of them.
Right. You may be right. I mean, ultimately, I don't think it matters too much. Like the point is that he ends up, while being shipwrecked, is forced to like eat his wife and his son, and then he I guess washes up. It's kind of we're left to kind of fill in the gaps, and it's like he gets back to shore, and he just eats every single person on that island. Like he just eats everybody.
Right.
And but then I kind of, and that's actually how I do take it, because, and I said this to you a couple weeks ago, is that I think that in Anthropophagus it's like it's kind of similar to like Dracula, like in the beginning of Bram Stoker's Dracula, the 1992 Dracula. Dracula becomes Dracula by renouncing God, like sort of formally renouncing God, and performing an act of such horrendous blasphemy, like just causes some sort of shift in reality to happen, so that like a man can become like a monster. And that's sort of what I think that is sort of similar to what happens to George Eastman in Anthropophagus, is that he does something that's such a horrible crime against nature, maybe like at a certain point in time when, like, let's say the planets are aligned or something, that he is transformed into something that's more than a man, that's some sort of monster, like a ghoul, that actually is like, I think that's how you become a ghoul, is just by like digging, like, if you were to dig up a dead person and eat their body or something, then like that's sort of what transforms you into a ghoul.
It's a definition of a ghoul.
Right. So that's what he is. He's just some sort of like weird monster, because he's stronger than everybody.
Super ghoul.
He's a super ghoul. That's what they actually should have called this movie, because we both would pronounce that the same way. Okay, so then there's that scene where the final scene, we're chasing those two girls. There's that awesome scene where he's on the roof and that.
Yeah, I love that. Like
so good.
Especially the way it's all played out, where like they go up to the roof, or the attic, and they lock the attic door, and he kind of like, he's very slow and lumbering, and he's like climbing up, and he's banging on the door, he can't get in, and then he just walks back down the ladder, and then he just leaves, and there's this moment of like, oh, he's gone, and then next moment he just like reaches through the roof and grabs the blind girl's head and pulls her up through the roof, and then bites her neck open.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just the way that's all set up. I love like everything about it. How low the ceiling is. Just the image of just like half of a woman and just her legs hanging like that. Like the whole thing is just great, like really great sort of like, you know, whatever horror kind of imagery. Then and then we're at she falls down like a well or something. What happens? Like I can't remember. It's I've seen this a million times.
So she escapes the. Well, actually, so when he grabs the blind girl and like bites her neck, Tisa Farrow in the attic. She finds a pickaxe, and she starts hitting him with the pickaxe. Hits him in the leg with the pickaxe, and he falls off the roof and disappears.
Right.
So then she goes back downstairs. She goes outside. It looks like she's just like going to the well to, I don't know, get some water or something. And his hand just comes up and I guess pulls her down into the well.
Right.
And then she gets her hand tangled up in the well, the rope, the bucket rope, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know my well anatomy.
Right.
She gets all tangled up in the well rope. And he starts climbing up out of the water, trying to get her. Somehow she's able to climb out of the well, and he's just about to. And he comes out too, and he's just about to, I guess, eat her. And that's when one of the other people from the group, one of the guys, comes and stabs him in the stomach with like an axe or something. It's
right.
Cuts his stomach open somehow with some weapon, and Anthropophagus like looks down at. He's got this hole in his stomach, and he just reaches into his stomach and starts pulling his guts out, and then he just starts eating his own guts.
Right.
And it's a great image. It's very well acted by George Eastman.
Sure.
Like his sort of like eating the guts and like staring at them defiantly is amazing. And then he just keels over and seems to be dead.
Yep. And that's it. That's the end of the film. That's how they end it.
It's good. I mean, there's definitely, Eastman is definitely the glue that I feel like holds the film together. And I feel like those moments that we mentioned, those like really strong, awful, horrific moments, make it worth watching. I feel like there's a little bit too much down time, a little bit too much wandering around, and thunderstorms and creaking doors and what's going on, or this is like old dark house kind of stuff that is a little boring, a little slow, but I still feel like it's worth watching. It's not as good as BUIO Omega. It's not as rich.
I think it's equally as good, but like for different metrics. Like I like just the vibe and tone and look and feel of Anthropophagus over BUIO Omega. Like I just like how it. I think it just has like a stronger personality overall. And that's why I would rate it a 3 also. I give the two equal scores because I think that they're equally as good but for different reasons.
So I'd give it 2.5. If I gave it a 3, I would have to give BUIO Omega like a 4.
You think it's that much better?
I just think that BUIO Omega has a lot more going on. It's a lot more complex. It's a lot more interesting, and has a great Goblin score.
Yeah, but I prefer the score of Anthropophagus.
But I feel like maybe Anthropophagus's score.
I almost got
it's effective. It's it's effective in the movie, but I'm not going to sit and listen to it in my car in traffic. Like I'm going to listen to I'm going to jam out to the BUIO Omega Goblin score.
Yeah, but I mean that we're not rating the soundtrack. We're rating the film, right?
Well, it's all a rich tapestry.
Yeah, But I mean, it's like like okay, whatever. You can rate the thing as any way you goddamn want. This isn't communist China.
Thank you. Exactly.
Over here, we have to enjoy things a certain way. We're not allowed to enjoy.
I see.
We're not allowed to enjoy things any which way. You know what's funny about sort of authoritarian governments is that they don't actually give a shit what you think, as much as like what you do. Like their whole shit is about kind of controlling like what you do in public
Sure.
and what you are or aren't allowed to do. And there is obviously some like propaganda kind of like an attempt to sort of propagandize people, but I don't think it's nearly as sophisticated as like a country, like a quote unquote free country, where like or a capitalist kind of country where the government kind of like can't sort of assert authority over you in the same way that like an authoritarian dictatorship can. So instead of like controlling you with like laws and stuff, there's a lot more of an emphasis upon changing the way you think so that you behave a particular way. Instead of just
Sure.
like being like you can't do this, they kind of make it so that you just don't want to do that already. Already.
I feel like that's what the internet does. Like it makes you sort of like without like making a law about certain things or making you think like you have to do things this way, you have to think this way, you have to love the president, you have to salute the flag. Like there's certain moral behaviors that the internet suddenly forces you to agree with. Otherwise you'll be cast out.
I don't think it's the internet. That's like saying I blame it on the telephone. It's like it's.
You know what I mean when I say the internet. I
It's
mean
big tech. We're talking. I mean, it's easier just to say like big tech, like Google, like
big
just any-
pharma. I mean, it's just like I'm talking about like the engine of social media, the hive mind of social media, creates this type of society.
I mean, on the same level as like
Did you ever see that movie about the terrorists that attacked that Indian hotel?
no, or maybe I
Blanking
did.
on the name of it, but it's not bad. But like, there's a scene where like the terrorists, they're like wandering around the hotel. They're just like shooting and killing people randomly, and they walk into some room and they're all in awe of the toilet. Because they're like, oh my, these people, they have like a machine that takes away their doo-doo.
Did you ever see that? Did you ever see that South Park where like the ghost of the guy who invented the toilet comes back and he's like, you're using it wrong. You're supposed to sit on it the other way. Like you're supposed to sit on it like reverse.
Like cowboy style.
Yeah. He calls it reverse cowgirl. And he's
Reverse
like,
cowgirl.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, of course, because that's why I've developed this little table in front of you where you can put your quill and inks. But anyways, so hold on. Let's recap what's going on with these movies. So for the Joe D'Amato super special,
Jojo D'Amato,
the Jojo D'Amato super special. What is it? It's Johnny gives BUIO OMEGA what, a 3.5?
I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Yeah, I give it a 3.
Great, disgusting, unique horror movie that just doesn't get made anymore.
Sure. Then Anthropophagus, I give a 3. It's the same as BUIO OMEGA, and then you give it what, 2.5?
I'm going to give it about 2.5. It's good. It's a little slow in parts, but has some great moments.
Okay, and then finally, Absurd. I gave that I think a 1.5.
Yeah, I can give it a 2. It's kind of forgettable.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's the episode, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.